Hey friends, I promised I would catch you guys up whenever I got back home. And I got back home this afternoon, but I needed to just rest a little bit. And I really thought I wouldn't make this video now, but I think it's important if I'm going to be transparent and vulnerable, authentic while I'm doing a GoFundMe to keep you as up to breath as possible. And tomorrow I have to go into town to get Ruby, and I know that's going to wear me out. So if I wait until I feel better, we're going to be waiting several days. So I thought I'd go ahead and just kind of update you. I think I said it in my post that all the scary things that we thought could have been going wrong, vascular compressions, that might have needed a stent or a shunt, which, things I don't want or could not have because of my metal allergies. Those things were kind of ruled out by this doctor. This test was done. It was a venogram and angiogram, and they went up through the groin. So they go in, at the crease of the leg, and they go all the way up into the brain. Incredible, right? Totally didn't feel a thing. They gave me fentanyl and Versed. I was I felt like I was perfectly conscious and cognitively strong. And I was trying to talk to them, but they didn't hear me, or they thought that I wasn't lucid. I don't know, because I could hear them, but not really clearly. So I don't know what all they said. But I did see the report, and they cleared me of a lot of things. For the test, I'm lying on my back, and that's called supine. So my issues are positional, well, somewhat positional. This pain that's over here from the Eagle syndrome, that's a constant, and then it's worse when I'm lying on my left. That wasn't tested. They only tested me with my, flat on my back. So it's not conclusive. It is inconclusive, but it's a thorough workup of how things function while I'm on my back. So one of the problems I've been having is the CSF leak symptoms, which I think this points more towards that than anything. But so one of the things I've been having is the CSF leak symptoms, which is hypotension. There's not enough tension, pressure inside the head to keep the brain in place, really. It wants to sag, and as it sags, all the nerves, the cranial nerves, just are on fire. And it's been bad this afternoon, and it was horrible last night. Just 10 out of 10, fetal position kind of thing. And it hadn't been that way for a little while. But anyway, my point that I was trying to make was that we had two things going on that we thought was the CSF leak that was making me want to lay down to get relief, lie flat on my back. But when I do that, pressure builds up in my head. And we thought that was because when I lie back, I'm getting a jugular compression or something along those lines. Well, they didn't see any evidence of that. So we still don't know what's causing the increased pressure in the head when I lie back. Just because they didn't find it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right? I'm feeling something. I got a lot of dysfunctional things going on. So we still have to figure out the Eagle syndrome. There's still styloids there. They see them. Dr. Patel saw them. That's why he sent me to this doctor. And Dr. Spiota, wonderful man, very compassionate, kind, completely believe he's very competent. So me saying that I think that I need to move on to a different doctor, or I need to find somebody who understands Eagle syndrome better, who understands the neurological side of Eagle syndrome, or all those various things that's going to be pushing me elsewhere, does not mean that I disrespect this man in any way. Um, he was, you know, he thought he saw something that should have indicated some vascular compressions, and it doesn't mean that they're not there. It just means that he wasn't seeing them in that moment with me on my back. Um, so I need to keep on pushing on, and I think I need to push on to Dr. Bolognese up in New York. Dr. Hepworth out in Colorado is one of the ones who's considered the best for Eagle syndrome. Some say he's the best. There's different rules, different thoughts when it comes to how you treat Eagle syndrome and how you do surgery for it and everything, and everyone has their preference. So I don't want to say declarative that he is the best, but he certainly was on my top of my priority list to see, except for the fact he's completely out of pocket. He's $900 out of pocket for a second opinion, which you don't have to travel for. You send your images to him. And there's often another one, and it's $600. And then if he does surgery, he requires full payment up front for his part of the surgery. Everything else would be covered by insurance. And that's just not plausible for me, feasible at all. But with Dr. Bolognese, financially, there's still an outlay of $1,000 for the second opinion. And then if he sees something that he thinks is worth his time, he invites you up for like a full week of testing, and then insurance kicks in and all that. And I'm going to have to do that. It's not that, no, it's not so much that there's a big difference up front between Bolognese and Hepworth. It's just that Hepworth is going to do his own testing. He's going to cherry pick which testing I need and be part of some of the testing, and it's going to be extensive. And I can't get that elsewhere, and I need it. There's a lot of neurological pain, there's a lot of neurological stuff going on, and I don't have anybody here locally figuring it out, that's for sure. But when it comes to Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and all the neurological stuff that goes along with it, he's like the best. He's the most one-stop one-stop shop kind of thing. What expression? I don't know. Sorry, my nose is itching. He'll do all kinds of tests. He'll put a bolt in your brain to check your pressure, and then put traction in, put you in traction and test what happens, and just so much he'll do. And I've had a friend go through it recently. I think she was there 10 days, something like that. And she's just got nothing but high praise for him. And she's a critical thinking person, so, she was able to acknowledge that it was the type of testing that she and her husband were seeking for her, and they would expect the best. So I think that's the direction I need to go for the Eagle syndrome, which is probably got a lot of nerves wrapped around this styloid process. The everything that was just done at NUSC was looking at vascular compressions, was not looking at the nerves. So I know I'm really falling apart here. I'm getting really tired and I can't think very well. So I'm going to shut this off and leave you at just 9 minutes, and then I'll probably will make another one tomorrow as I think of the different parts of this I want to express. What part of what I was trying to get to, and I was hemming and hawing, was I have a spinal cord injury between C2 and C6. And 2 years ago, they noticed what's called a syrinx in that same area. It was small. And those can be created because of spinal fluid leaks. And the more I understand the symptoms I have now, and have had all that pointed out to me, the more I think a large part of the symptoms that I had for tethered cord and for CCI, the cranial cervical instability, was probably most of the pain was related to CSF leak, I do believe. That's come and gone, increased in intensity and then decreased. I was able to decrease my symptoms prior to going to MUC. I'd had at least a week, maybe 10, 14 days of improved functioning where I wasn't so intimidated by getting up and doing the dishes or doing my laundry or something. And I've got to get flat because it's hard to think. So I am going to stop this. I just was trying to get to the point of explaining why there's a need to go to Dr. Bolognese, because there's a lot of neurological stuff. He's not going to be addressing all of this inflammation in my sacrum or in the abdomen that's outside of his area. So I still got to figure out who to be seen for that. So it's just where I am, and lots of questions. I got the MRI report, and for the MRI I had last week, I haven't really had time to really soak it all in. There were a couple of different changes from the one 2 years ago, I think. But yeah, I'll have to explain more about that, because I had a lumbar MRI this summer, and it was done at Huntsville Hospital. This one I had last week was at Crestwood, and they don't report the same thing. But I always trusted Crestwood more than I trust Huntsville Hospital radiology readings. But at Crestwood, they were actually making comparisons back to similar readings, similar imaging that they've done there. So that's good. It is interesting that they noted a syrinx back in 23, but don't note it now. They noticed the spinal cord injury back then and still note it. They haven't said it went away, which they're supposed to do if something goes away. They did note that all my hardware was not there, and so they are supposed to note changes, but they did not say that the syrinx is not there. So I have to assume that it is. You would think that they would note it, but they didn't. There is changes between C5 and C6. Forget what they were, but it didn't seem like it was anything quite significant of any consequence. And but you never know. And then there was a cyst. There's a cyst, a 1 centimeter cyst that is bigger than it was 2 years ago in my lumbar at L4-5. And I don't think that's causing any of my symptoms. I don't know. Just don't know. But I have a lot of questions. And I'm going to keep on having questions. And I'm going to keep on making sure that I push forward. Even though, like tonight, when my head is killing me and I just want to forget about all this and say, okay, I just give up. I just give up. I don't know how it's going to make sense. I don't have money. I don't know how this is going to make sense. But I've been in tough places before, and I know I just push forward and just pray it all and have faith that it all comes together. One day after another, one effort after another, it will come together somehow. I'm going to keep moving my needle, as I say, as a quilter, moving my needle and see what happens. But right now, going to bed. You guys have a good day. We'll see you soon.